Hey everyone, today I want to do a quick video on something that comes up a lot, and that is buying power. Where do you price out your properties when interest rates are increasing? I just had a call today from a wholesaler who has a property with us, and they're like, what do I do? Where do I price it? We started looking at this property back in early 2022 where the purchase price, the sale price could have been $800,000. Now in this market, he's trying to figure out exactly what he does, how he does, and how he gets rid of it, just so he can move on and clear the slates for next year when it's going to be a better buying period. He doesn't want to keep paying an interest rate to us just because the property's not sitting there. So we went through some different numbers just so he could understand, because he has it priced right now down to about $650, and he's like, why, even though we're getting showings, are we not getting any offers? So we went through some numbers, and just for instance, what is the buying power? So someone back in the spring who might have been able to get 4% was looking at a payment of $3,800. Now looking at that, interest rates going up in the 7% range, their purchasing power, their monthly payment, P&I just went to $5,300, and next year is expected to go up to 8%, going up to $5,800. So you see right now there's a lot of people who, even if they could afford it or want to, maybe don't qualify. Maybe they don't qualify for $5,300 even though they have the money to do it. So we just looked at the numbers and said, okay, rates went up, payments went up, $1,500. That's a 39% increase for someone who's trying to buy it. That's a lot to add to the DTI when they're qualifying. We want to make sure this is priced out correctly. And next year it's going to even get worse, going up to 8%, which is a 54% increase from the payments just at the beginning of this year, not even thinking about last year. But what does that really look like for purchasing power? So someone who was looking at an $800,000 house and can afford those payments just in early 2022, now that purchasing power with the same payment has gone down to $575,000. Next year, that same person who could have bought a house for $800,000 at the beginning of this year, they're going to go down to $520,000, keeping their payments and their DTI in line where it was at the beginning of the year. So that is, if you look at a $225,000 price drop, what I recommended to him is drop it to this number, because if someone was looking at that purchasing payment and they could afford it in the early part, maybe that's all they could afford and they want to keep that payment there. So he would have to drop it from where he originally thought $800 to the price he has now at $650 down to $575 just to get it moved. The issue he has, if he keeps it longer, that price goes down to $520 to keep their payments the same. So the purchasing power for the payments have definitely decreased. As you can see now, we're like at a 35% discount going into next year where the rates are compared to the beginning of this year. So as you're pricing stuff out, you got to remember affordability. People make payments based on these numbers. So these numbers are exactly what your buyers are looking for, especially the ones payment sensitive, which are most of them. So take this into account. And quality. When someone is looking at an $800,000 house, they had an idea of what they were looking or going to walk into. When they walk into something that is now a $500,000 house, they're like, I don't see why it's worth me paying the same price for a $500,000 house. So the $800,000 houses have to come up, or the finishes on those $600,000 properties have to go up. We do see it. We have seen it. People who are still selling here in the Denver market for more, it's because their quality is outstanding. Their quality is above what everyone else is. Everyone else is taking 10 or 20% cuts. The people who have great properties are not. This same thing works for even a smaller house. So someone was going to pay that $1,193 at the beginning of the year, now is up to $1,600. That's a big increase for someone who's buying an entry-level house. Even though that's probably still cheaper than the rent, it does not mean they qualify. And qualifying is part of the equation here. They may be just kicked out of qualifying even though rents are higher than this. What that equates to, again, is a 39 and 54% going into next year increase, even on the 250, drastically showing that if they could have afforded a $250,000 house at the beginning of this year, now they're down to 180. Next year, that's going to be 162. So going from 250 to 162. If you take that back even a year going back into 2021, what you're going to see is these people have almost gone down 60% in their available purchasing power. So you need to look at these things, and if you have a property on the market, you need to think about payment sensitivity and your buyers actually qualifying for a loan. So if they qualified at a 250 at the beginning of the year, now they only qualify for 180. So you may have to drop it just to clear the decks, make sure everything is good so you can get on to the next thing. The other option, as we've talked about before too, is DSCR loans. Maybe taking this property off the market, holding it for 3 to 5 years while markets come back. You also could look at that. We could help you with that. Have any questions, just reach out to us via email, Mike@HardMoneyMike. We just want to send this out because we were just talking about this to someone, and it really makes sense when you're pricing something out. Look at payments and what a payment affordability was. If it was back in April, they could afford something like that. Now you're going to have to come down to match that payment to make it work. And sometimes it's just buying down the rate, because if you have a $500,000 house and you pay 2 points down on a rate and it brings it down a point, maybe that would help you, instead of going down to 575, bring it back up to 6.25. And that is better than discounting it $50,000, paying down $10,000. Thanks guys, and we'll see you soon.